He told me I wasn't pretty enough to be his girlfriend in front of his entire office. The same man who begged me to help him build his resume, write his presentations and drive him to interviews. That night, while he soaked up compliments at his promotion party, I held the mic and told them everything. You should have seen his face. If he'd asked me 2 years ago what love looked like, I would have said Jason Carter. The charming, suit-wearing, ambition-drenched man with the perfect LinkedIn profile and the smile that could melt an ice cube at 10 paces. He walked like he was auditioning for a cologne commercial and talked like every word he said deserved its own TED Talk. And I, Claire Thompson, was just lucky to be on his arm. At least that's what he made me believe. We met at a mutual friend's barbecue. He wore loafers without socks and told me he was building empires in marketing. I laughed. He laughed. We talked for hours, and by the end of the night he was asking for my number. I thought I'd scored the jackpot. Finally, someone who wasn't intimidated by my job or quick to make dumb jokes about retail girls. I was a boutique marketing firm's assistant manager, and while it wasn't flashy, I was proud of it. The first few months were great. Romantic even. But little things started slipping through the cracks. Offhand remarks, long silences when I shared my ideas. That one time he scoffed when I suggested he could improve his PowerPoint layout. I brushed it off. Everyone has flaws, right? Except Jason's weren't just flaws. They were microcuts. Tiny paper-thin slices to my self-worth. You know, babe, he said once, examining me like I was a spreadsheet, you'd look a lot slimmer in solid colors. Another time, you should wear your hair up more often. It hides your jawline. And my favorite, I'm just being honest. You should be grateful I even look your way, most guys wouldn't. That one stuck. But I swallowed it. Smiled. Nodded. Told myself he was just under stress trying to climb the corporate ladder. He said stuff like that when he was overwhelmed. And Jason? He was always overwhelmed. I was the one soothing him after work. Listening to rants about his clueless team. Helping him redo his resume. I even created the slide template he used to present to upper management. He said I had a designer's eye. I didn't. I just knew how to make him look good. I didn't mind. Not then. Because I believed we were a team. He even promised, once I get promoted, everything will change. You and me will be unstoppable. I clung to those words. Then came the email. Subject line, promotion party. You're invited. I read it twice, stunned. He actually included me. It was the first time Jason had invited me to anything work-related. Usually he said his company didn't do +1s, or, it's just co-workers, Claire, not that serious. But this time I was on the guest list. I spent the next 2 days preparing like I was meeting royalty. Got my hair done. Bought a sleek black dress that cost more than I wanted to admit. Practiced small talk in the mirror. Googled everything I could about his company so I wouldn't sound clueless. The night of the party I Ubered to the venue, a swanky rooftop lounge in downtown Denver. The kind of place with glass walls, ambient lighting and drinks served in crystal. My heart pounded as I stepped into the elevator. Jason was near the bar, surrounded by colleagues in blazers and designer dresses. He wore a charcoal gray suit, sharp as ever. He didn't notice me at first. When he did, he gave a tight smile and waved me over. Not a hug, not a kiss. Just a wave. Hey, I greeted, suddenly unsure. You look amazing. Yeah, he said, sipping his drink. You're here. He turned to the group and said, everyone, this is Claire. He's, someone I know. I blinked. Someone I know? He laughed as if it were some inside joke. Relax, he whispered in my ear. Don't make it weird. The group barely nodded. One guy actually looked me up and down, clearly unimpressed. Jason didn't introduce me again. Just turned back to the conversation like I was an afterthought. I stood awkwardly beside him for a few minutes, trying to follow the discussion about revenue projections and regional expansions. When I added a light comment about branding trends, Jason chuckled and said, she's cute when she pretends to know what we're talking about. Everyone laughed. Everyone except me. The blood drained from my face. I wanted to sink through the marble floor. I tried to leave, but Jason grabbed my wrist and hissed, don't be dramatic, Claire. You'll embarrass yourself. I nodded, swallowing the lump in my throat. It got worse. Later, one of the HR reps asked Jason how we met. I smiled, ready to tell our story, the one about the barbecue and the loafers, but Jason beat me to it. She worked at a store I used to shop at, he said casually. I felt bad for her. Thought I'd give her a shot. Everyone burst out laughing. Like I was a charity case. My fingers curled into fists. I excused myself to the restroom, head spinning. Inside the mirror's reflection, I saw my makeup cracking beneath the fluorescent lights. Not from tears, yet, but from humiliation. My phone buzzed. Alyssa, everything okay? You're quiet tonight. I stared at the screen for a moment, then typed. He introduced me as someone he knows. I think I made a mistake coming here. She replied immediately. Want me to come get you? I didn't respond. I couldn't. Instead, I splashed cold water on my face, fixed my lipstick and forced a smile. I wasn't going to cry in a rooftop bathroom stall. Not for Jason. When I returned, Jason was giving a toast. Standing by the mic, drink raised, all eyes on him. I couldn't have done this without the amazing support of my team, he said. You know who you are. Not a glance in my direction. Not one word about me. I stood at the back of the crowd, clapping like everyone else. And that's when it happened. One of Jason's coworkers turned to me and said, Didn't he say you two were just roommates? I stared at her, stunned. He mentioned it last week, she added casually, sipping champagne. That you were his roommate from college or something. I didn't answer. I couldn't. But suddenly everything clicked. Every time he said I wasn't pretty enough. Every time he avoided taking pictures with me. Every time he left me out of office events. He wasn't just embarrassed of me. He was ashamed of me. And worse, he was lying to everyone about me. That night I left early without saying goodbye. He didn't even notice. When I got home, I took off my heels, sat on the couch and stared at the ceiling for what felt like hours. I thought about all the resumes I helped him write. The time I paid his rent when he was between jobs. The weekends I sacrificed to help him prep for meetings. And I thought about how he had the audacity to say I should be grateful he looked my way. I wasn't angry yet. But I was done being humiliated. The next morning, while scrolling through my saved files, I found the pitch deck Jason had used in the final round of interviews for his promotion. It had my formatting, my graphics, my title suggestions, every single slide. All things I'd created, after he begged me to help. Then I opened my email. Dug out the late-night texts, the voice memos he sent dictating what I should write, the saved versions he never even edited. My hand trembled. Not with fear. With resolve. Jason thought he was untouchable. That he could climb higher by stepping on people like me. But what he didn't know was that I kept receipts. I didn't sleep that night. Not because I was crying, though I'd be lying if I said I didn't sob into my pillow around 3 a.m., but because I was thinking. Thinking about every time Jason used my words as his own. Thinking about every single time he undermined me, belittled me, or tossed me aside like I was an embarrassing little footnote in his story. And thinking about how I let him. No more. By sunrise, my living room looked like a crime scene. Sticky notes on the wall, my laptop open, printouts of Jason's pitch materials next to my original drafts. It was all there. My graphics, my wording, even the section titles were the same. He hadn't just borrowed my help. He stole it, claimed it, used it, and celebrated it in front of a rooftop full of suits while pretending I didn't exist. My phone buzzed on the kitchen counter. I ignored it. Then it buzzed again. And again. It was Alyssa, my best friend and favorite human on this side of the planet. I finally picked up. Claire, she said, voice urgent. Please tell me you're okay. I saw your text last night and then nothing. I inhaled shakily. I'm okay. Actually, I'm better than okay. I'm furious. She paused. Good. Let's use that. So I told her everything. The full story of the party, the introduction as someone I know, the roommate lie, the jokes, the toast where I didn't exist. Alyssa was silent at first. Then she muttered, I swear to God if I ever see him I'm going to flip a table. I don't want revenge, I said. You sure, she said. Because you sound like someone who's about to start a girl boss revolution. I gave a short laugh. I just want credit. That's all. Credit and closure, she corrected. Don't downplay what he did. This is emotional abuse, Claire. You deserve better than this. I knew she was right. But what could I do? Go to his boss and scream. He used my ideas. Who would believe me? Alyssa said something then that lit the first spark. Didn't you say Jason got that job through your old professor? Yeah, I said, blinking. Mr. Larson. He runs the whole digital strategy division now. She paused. Claire, you taught that man how to use Google Drive. He adored you. That was true. Mr. Larson had been more than a mentor. He was the first person in the marketing world to ever treat me like I had potential. He'd written my recommendation letter for my current job. He trusted me. What if, Alyssa continued, you just showed him? No drama, no accusations. Just the truth. I hesitated, then nodded slowly. I have the files. I can prove it. A plan began forming in my head. Not one of spite. One of revelation. I sat down and composed a short, respectful email. Subject: quick catch-up, something I'd like to share. Hi Mr. Larson. I hope you're doing well. I know it's been a while, but I've always been grateful for your mentorship. I'd love to grab coffee if you're open. I came across something I think you might be interested in. Warmly, Claire Thompson. He responded within the hour. Absolutely, Claire. How about Thursday at 10? It was on. The next few days were surreal. Jason didn't call. Didn't text. Didn't apologize for the disaster he created at the party. But I wasn't surprised. In his mind, nothing had gone wrong. In his mind, I was still the sidekick. Someone to edit his work and smile silently while he took credit. He had no idea what I was working on behind the scenes. Meanwhile, Alyssa and I entered full Operation Rebuild Claire mode. We deleted old photos, threw out the ratty hoodie he always left at my place, and drafted a list titled, Everything I'm Proud of, that has nothing to do with Jason. It included things like surviving my first year in marketing without quitting, and mentoring 2 interns last summer, learning Adobe InDesign by watching YouTube tutorials and sheer willpower, paying off my student loans, and not losing my mind through 2 years of emotional gaslighting. The list was longer than I expected. It reminded me I wasn't weak. I wasn't a fool. I was a giver. And now I was going to stop giving to people who didn't deserve it. Thursday morning, I met Mr. Larson at a small cafe a few blocks from my office. He looked the same, silver hair, thoughtful eyes, and that perpetually curious expression. Claire, he said warmly, standing to hug me. You look radiant. I smiled, nervous. Thanks for meeting me. We ordered coffee, made small talk, and then I opened my laptop. I want to show you something, I said, hands trembling just slightly. I pulled up 2 files. My original presentation template and the one Jason submitted for his promotion pitch. I explained how Jason and I had dated for 2 years. How I'd helped him prep for interviews. How I edited his work, created his slides, and shaped his talking points. I clicked through each slide. See the phrasing here? I pointed out. This exact line is in my draft from 6 months ago. Mr. Larson nodded slowly, brows furrowed. I'm not trying to get him fired, I said quietly. I don't want someone else to be rewarded for my work. Not again. He leaned back in his chair and studied me. Claire, he said, you've always had a quiet brilliance. And I've always worried you'd end up working for someone who didn't see it. He paused. I believe you. And I appreciate your honesty. Relief flooded through me. He closed his notebook. I'd like you to come work with us. My heart skipped. What? We're launching a new digital campaign next quarter. I think you'd be the perfect creative strategist. On paper, we'll call it freelance for now. Keep things clean. But the job's yours if you want it. I blinked. But, doesn't Jason? He'll be handled, he said. You just focus on your work. You're talented, Claire. And it's time everyone sees that. I left that cafe with a job offer, a clear head, and a spine made of steel. Jason had no idea what was coming. And the best part? I didn't have to raise my voice. All I had to do was let my work speak for itself. The day after my meeting with Mr. Larson, I sat on the floor of my apartment, still in my work clothes, shoes kicked off, hair in a mess, and just breathed. For the first time in months, I wasn't second-guessing myself. I had the job offer. A real opportunity. Not one that came from begging or borrowing my way into someone else's success, but one that came from someone finally seeing me for who I am. Still, something kept tugging at me. Not bitterness. Not even anger. Something colder. Resolve. Because Jason was still walking around like nothing happened. He was still posting gym selfies with captions like, big things coming. Only the real ones know. He was still getting credit for work that wasn't his. And worse, he was still lying. I wasn't out to ruin him. Not intentionally. But I was done protecting him. especially when I found out what he'd been saying behind my back. It was Friday night when Alyssa showed up at my place with tacos, a bottle of wine, and a grin that told me she knew something I didn't. "You look suspicious," I said, raising an eyebrow. "Oh, I am," she smirked, tossing her coat onto my couch. "You remember Derek? Jason's intern?" I asked. She nodded. "Turns out he follows me on Instagram. We got talking, and girl, you are going to want to hear this." I paused mid-bite. "Is this a bad thing or a satisfying thing?" "Oh, very satisfying," she grinned. "Derek says Jason's been going around the office saying he dumped you. That you were clingy, obsessed. That he kept you around out of pity." I nearly choked on a chip. "He what?" "Yeah," Alyssa said, pouring wine into a glass. "Apparently he's the hero who finally cut you loose. The martyr who sacrificed his mental health to date someone so needy." My stomach twisted. I spent 2 years holding his hand through every rejection. I bought him groceries when he was between jobs. I created the slide deck that got him his promotion. Alyssa nodded. "Oh, I know. And now the whole office will know too." I blinked. "Wait, what?" She smirked. "Mr. Larson invited you to work on that campaign, right? The one launching next month." "Yeah," I said slowly. "Well," she continued, "Derek said there's going to be another party. Bigger than the promotion one. A product launch and team appreciation event." My stomach dropped. "Jason's going to be there." "Oh, absolutely," she said. "But so will you. With your name, your real name, on that campaign." I stared at her. "Imagine it," she said. "Jason walking around expecting applause. Then you walk in looking amazing, shaking hands with execs, and when someone asks about the campaign, you're the one they point to." I swallowed. "He'll lose it. He'll implode," she corrected. "And it'll be glorious." It wasn't about revenge. Not exactly. It was about truth. For too long, Jason had controlled the narrative. I was the needy girlfriend, the embarrassing roommate, the afterthought. But that was over. The next few weeks were a blur of quiet preparation. During the day, I worked with Mr. Larson and the design team under a pseudonym, Thea Gray. It helped keep things clean while they prepared to separate Jason from anything that could cause legal friction. At night, I updated my portfolio, practiced speaking points, and started saying no to things that didn't serve me. Like Jason's phone calls. Yes, he started calling again. First, it was a casual, "Hey, just wanted to check in." Then it was, "We should talk about what happened." Then it turned into whining voicemails. "Claire, you're being dramatic. Can't we just be friends?" As if he hadn't humiliated me publicly and then erased me from his entire life story. I didn't respond. Not because I was afraid, but because I didn't need to. The silence was my response. Meanwhile, the campaign was taking shape, better than anyone expected. We crafted a concept around authenticity, truth in branding, and storytelling that connects. It was clean, smart, and emotionally intelligent. And I was at the center of it. Me. Not Jason. Mr. Larson called me one afternoon while I was walking home from the grocery store. "Claire," he said, "I know this might be uncomfortable, but I'd really like you to be at the launch party." I hesitated. "I'll understand if you say no," he continued. "But I think people deserve to know who you are. Not just the name on a document." I swallowed hard. What if he causes a scene? "He won't," Mr. Larson said calmly. "Because this time we'll be the ones in control." Launch day arrived like a hurricane. The venue was grander than the rooftop party. An upscale art gallery downtown with glowing lights, sleek canapes, and branded signage hanging from crystal chandeliers. The minute I stepped in wearing a burgundy dress Alyssa helped me pick out, heads started turning. Not because I was overdressed. Because I belonged. Jason was across the room laughing with a group of managers. The moment he spotted me, his entire face fell. He excused himself mid-conversation and started walking toward me. I braced myself, but before he reached me, Mr. Larson stepped in. "Jason," he said coolly. "Didn't expect to see you so early." Jason's jaw twitched. I just came to support the team." "Of course," Mr. Larson said with a polite smile. "Well, now that you're both here, let me officially introduce you." He turned to the small circle of execs beside us. "This is Claire Thompson. She's the creative strategist behind our entire new campaign." Jason's face drained of color. "What?" he said, voice a low hiss. That's not. Claire worked under a pseudonym for the past 6 weeks, Mr. Larson said, sipping his wine. We didn't want conflict of interest during transition. But her work has been nothing short of transformative. The executives nodded, smiling at me. I met Jason's eyes, finally truly, and said nothing. Just smiled. An hour later, Mr. Larson stepped up to the mic to begin the formal portion of the evening. We're proud to launch a campaign that speaks to truth, transparency, and the real stories behind every success, he said. And tonight we want to honor the woman who brought it to life. He looked straight at me. Claire, would you join me? The room turned as I stepped forward. Jason stood frozen in the corner. I took the mic. My name is Claire Thompson, I said. You may not have heard of me, but if you've seen the campaign, you've seen my work. Pause. I spent 2 years in the shadow of someone who told me I wasn't good enough. Who told me to keep quiet, stay out of sight, and be grateful for crumbs. I scanned the room, letting the silence settle. But now I know better. And if there's anything I've learned, it's that you don't need someone else's permission to be seen. There was a beat of silence, then applause. Genuine. Loud. Boo. Jason had disappeared before I left the stage. There's a very specific kind of silence that happens when someone realizes the mask they've worn for years is slipping. It's not dramatic. It's not loud. It's not a gasp or a scream. It's quiet. So, a collective hush that hits the room like a tidal wave, followed by the slow unraveling of every lie. That's the silence that swallowed the launch party after my speech. After I stepped away from the mic, there was applause, yes, but it was also accompanied by side glances, murmurs, people looking around as if to say, wait, what did we miss? Because the golden boy they had clapped for, Jason Carter, had built his reputation on a story that just shattered. He wasn't the creative mind behind the campaign. He wasn't the leader he pretended to be. He was the guy who made his girlfriend invisible. Until she showed up with a mic in hand and a smile on her face. I didn't see Jason for the rest of the night. He vanished the second my name was on everyone's lips. Part of me expected some kind of scene. A confrontation. A storming out moment. But that would have required confidence. And Jason had just lost all of his. What I didn't expect, what completely blindsided me, was the number of people who came up to me afterward. Women from other departments. Junior designers. Admins. Even 2 senior execs. All of them had the same thing to say. Thank you. One of them, a soft-spoken woman named Rachel, said, I've been working here for 3 years. Men like Jason always get credit for our work. Tonight, you reminded everyone that it doesn't have to be that way. I felt something shift inside me. Like I had finally stepped out of a fog I didn't even know I was living in. The next morning, I woke up to 2 missed calls and 1 voicemail from Jason. I didn't plan on listening to it. But curiosity is a powerful thing. I tapped play. Claire. What the hell was that last night? He was seething. I could hear it in his voice. You blindsided me. Embarrassed me. You don't get to act like the victim when you were the one who broke my trust. His trust? I almost laughed. You seriously think anyone cares that you made a few edits to some slides? This was my career. I earned that promotion. I deleted the message without finishing it. Because here's the thing, when someone shows you who they really are, believe them the first time. And Jason had shown me. Over and over again. I thought that would be the end of it. But later that week, Mr. Larson called me into his office. I wanted to let you know something, he said calmly, folding his hands over his desk. Jason? I asked. He nodded. We completed an internal review of his projects. It turns out, your campaign wasn't the only thing he took credit for. My stomach twisted. He's been placed on probation, Mr. Larson continued. And pending HR's recommendation, he'll likely be let go. I didn't cheer. I didn't gloat. I just nodded. That's fair, I said. A few days later, I was at the office late, finishing up edits for a new project when a soft knock came at the door. It was Derek, Jason's former intern. Hey, he said, shifting awkwardly. Can I talk to you for a second? Sure, I said, saving my work. He sat down and ran a hand through his hair. I just wanted to say, thank you. For what you did. I didn't do it for applause, I said. I know, he said quickly. But you should know. After your speech, a lot of us started rethinking things. The way we let people like Jason act. The way we stay silent. He looked embarrassed. I laughed at his jokes, he admitted. I knew some of them were about you. I didn't say anything. I'm sorry. I didn't know what to say at first. But then I remembered something Alyssa once told me. You don't grow by staying angry. You grow by setting boundaries and keeping them. Thank you for saying that, I told him. He smiled, relief washing over him. I hope we get to work together sometime, he added. You will, I said. Just not under someone like Jason. That weekend I was invited to a networking brunch for rising creatives in the city. I almost didn't go. Part of me still felt like the girl at the rooftop party, the one in the corner feeling invisible. But I put on a pair of heels, smoothed my dress and told myself, you belong here. Because I did. I wasn't just someone's girlfriend. I wasn't a footnote in someone else's story. I had earned my seat at the table. And when I walked into that room full of confident, brilliant, talented professionals, I wasn't nervous. I was ready. Later that night, as I sat at my kitchen counter sipping tea, my phone buzzed again. Another message from Jason. This one read, I miss you. I messed up. Can we talk? Please? I stared at the screen for a long moment. Then blocked his number. No reply. No drama. Just peace. Because when someone tells you you're not pretty enough, not smart enough, not enough, what they really mean is they're not enough to see your worth. And I was done dimming my light for anyone who couldn't handle the brightness. It's strange how quiet confidence feels. Not the loud, fake kind, the kind Jason had, the one that needed applause to survive. But the deep-rooted, grounded kind. The kind that comes when you finally stop begging people to see your worth. Because you've already seen it yourself. 3 months after the campaign launch, everything had changed. I wasn't just working behind the scenes anymore. Mr. Larson brought me on full-time as a senior creative strategist. My name, my real name, was attached to every project I touched. Clients knew me. Colleagues respected me. Interns came to me for advice. And for the first time in my career, I wasn't shrinking. I was showing up as the woman I'd always been, just a little braver now. A few weeks after Jason's firing, I heard through the grapevine that he was trying to get back into the marketing world. But word travels fast in this industry. Especially when your references are full of red flags. I didn't have to say a word. His own arrogance handled that for me. Alyssa and I joked once that he probably thought I'd ruined him. That I'd set him up for failure. But the truth? He ruined himself. I just stopped protecting him from the consequences. One Friday afternoon, after wrapping up a pitch meeting, I was grabbing coffee at a downtown cafe when I heard my name. Claire. I turned. It was Jake. Jake was a freelance developer who'd collaborated on the campaign with me. We'd worked together a lot, virtually at first and then in person, and had clicked in that quiet, comfortable way that feels more like recognition than attraction. I smiled. Hey. Fancy seeing you here. Mind if I sit? He asked, holding up his cup. Not at all. We sat and talked, about work, about music, about how weirdly expensive oat milk lattes are. Then, somewhere between laughter and silence, he looked at me and said, You're different now. I tilted my head. Different how? You used to fold in on yourself, he said gently. Now you unfold. I blinked. No one had ever said something like that to me before. And he was right. I wasn't trying to disappear anymore. Jake and I started spending more time together. Fully. Intentionally. With no pressure. He asked questions no one ever had before. About my dreams, my childhood, what I would do if I had zero fear. He listened. And more importantly, he saw me. Not as a convenience, not as a project, not as someone who needed to be fixed. But as a partner. Equal. Valuable. Enough. One afternoon I got a call from an unknown number. I almost didn't answer. But something in me said face it all the way through. Hello. Claire. Hey, it's Tina. Jason's mom. Oh, hi. I said, a little stunned. I hope it's okay that I called. I heard what happened. About Jason. The job. Everything. He sounded sad but not surprised. I always liked you, she said. You were good to him. Better than he deserved, honestly. I didn't know what to say. I just wanted to say, I'm sorry, she said softly. For how he treated you. I raised him better than that. It's okay, I said gently. I'm okay now. I can hear it in your voice, she said, and for the first time, there was a smile in her tone. I hope you're happy, Claire. Truly. I hung up feeling like a chapter had closed. Not with a bang, but with a breath. A month later, I was invited to speak at a women's leadership event. The theme was reclaiming the narrative. I stood on stage facing a room full of women, professionals, creatives, students, all of them carrying their own stories of being dismissed, diminished, overlooked. And I told them mine. Not the polished version. Not the revenge-glittered highlight reel. The real one. How I loved someone who made me feel small. How I let myself believe I wasn't enough. How I built his career while he dismantled my confidence. And how I walked away. Not with rage, but with clarity. I told them the truth. No one has the right to shrink your story to fit their comfort. Not a boss. Not a partner. Not even someone you loved. You're allowed to take up space. To speak your name out loud. To say, that was mine. I did that. I deserved to be here. They clapped. Some cried. A few hugged me after. But most importantly, I believed every word I said. That night, Jake picked me up after the event. You killed it, he said with a grin. You weren't even there, I laughed. Didn't have to be, he shrugged. I saw the glow. He took my hand across the console of his car. And just like that, no spotlight, no drama, no grand gestures, I realized I was finally in the right place. Not just in my career, but in my life. Jason walked past me once in the hallway of a co-working space a few months later. He looked older. Smaller. Like someone trying to blend into the wallpaper. He didn't say a word. But he looked at me. And I looked back. I didn't smile. I didn't frown. I just nodded, calm, poised, unbothered. And for the first time since the night he left me at that rooftop party, I saw it. Regret. Not the kind that begs for a second chance. The kind that knows there won't be one. The end.